There are traits that mark out the Nigerian Minister of Agriculture, Audu Ogbe. One of them is a tendency to shoot from the hips, not to destroy or maim, but to help individuals get on the platform of that which is realistic, to enable them tackle challenges head-on. That about sums up his words at a recent yet regular series of events where he mentions how foolhardy it is to continue to import agricultural products when the fruitful Nigerian soil is practically begging to be commissioned in current attempts anchored on Mr. Audu Ogbe's 10-point agenda on the green alternative for accelerated food production in Nigeria.
All you Nigerians, praise you for your resilience, praise you for your faith in spite of difficult times, and say to you that you have a partner in the Ministry of Agriculture. And the ministry itself is a strong partner. And that a law will soon be passed to make sure that our local bread makers utilize cassava flour to the tune of about 50%. I know there's been a theory of artful dodging, but we have no more money to buy wheat. The importation of rice until recently was $5 million a day. The importation of wheat was slightly higher. We can't grow enough wheat in the short term, but we can include cassava flour. After all, Brazil, the king of cassava, of wheat growers, includes 20% cassava in their bread. I do not see why Nigeria doesn't want to do it when we have no capacity for wheat. And let me ask this question, how long shall we remain a nation of importers only? They talk of globalization, yes, and free trade, yes. What does Nigeria export, apart from oil and gas? I said to a friend of mine once, if you ask us to globalize, if you ask us to embark on free trade implies competition. You sell to me, I sell to you. If you have nothing to sell, then this whole doctrine of free trade is like inviting my 5-year-old grandson to a boxing match with Mike Tyson at the beginning of his career.
In our first episode on happenings in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, we brought you an in-depth expose in which the minister swiftly listed some of the modest gains in agriculture, even as the federal government prepares to do something markedly different to harness the country's agrarian endowments. Some of these include the desire to stop importing many of the things we can grow and to show the world that Nigeria's gifts of nature can be maximally tapped for the good of all. Our focus now shifts to some of the official team players who are solidly behind the Agriculture and Rural Development Minister as Nigeria strives to feed itself and put out some highly needed agro-allied products to a growing world market.
Well, viewers, you're welcome to the concluding part of the special public enlightenment documentary that we started on the agricultural sector last week. And I had the singular pleasure of speaking with the gentleman that supervises the sector as Honorable Minister Audu Ogbe. Today we'll be talking with his operatives. He did tell me that he's not a one-man soldier at the ministry. They work as a team. And so you're welcome to this edition where we'll be talking with these operatives and for you to know where they are taking us as a nation in relation to agricultural development. Welcome to the program. The next question that readily comes to my mind, I'm aware you have a special project you call LIFE, L-I-F-E, and I've been told that L stands for livelihood, I improvement, F family, and E enterprise. What is this all about? Can you give us?
It's a program we have designed to begin to move industrial activity in agriculture to the rural areas. There is a tendency to concentrate everything near the cities. And there is a new danger coming. There's so much migration from the villages to the cities, and even from Africa across the desert to Europe, because young people are full of energy. There's no reason why a young man or a young girl should graduate from university, return to the parents to begin a second childhood, asking for recharge card and underwear and slippers and so on, because there are no jobs. These are the same jobs we've transferred to support other economies.
It's very sad.
And it's a bit of foolishness on our part. Import, import, import. We are a nation of importers and traders. We've got to end it.
Yeah.
So the idea is spread agro-industrial enterprise in rural areas throughout the country. Vegetable oils, shea butter processing, palm oil processing, rice milling, palm kernel cracking, palm kernel oil, activated carbon from palm kernel shells, coconut oil, spread them. We bring in the machines.
Yeah.
Because it's too difficult now for a group or a young boy or girl to have money, open an LC, go to the port, clear the goods. So let government hand walk young people, women especially, into industry. It's already happening. I saw a young man in Kebbi with a T-shirt marked Tunibu for Senate.
Tell us about it.
And I asked him, where did you meet Tunibu? And he said he was living under the bridge in Lagos, where he nearly died. And there was a campaign vehicle passing by, and they threw a T-shirt, and he caught one, and that's what he was wearing. Until he heard that rice and wheat production was going on in Kebbi, so he came back home. In 1 year, he had earned 600,000 naira.
In 1 year?
1 year. Bought a motorbike, and this was about 4 p.m. on his farm, where he was pumping water from a tube well into his rice field.
Proudly doing so.
And then the governor of Kebbi showed me one day at a meeting 2 young men sitting in the corner. I said, you see the one in that blue kaftan?
Outfit.
He was one of the most dangerous thugs in the Northeast.
Before.
He was rented to do the most deadly jobs.
Now transformed.
Then he gave up and joined the agric program. And one day went to the governor's house. Said to the governor, please follow me to my farm. The governor said, fine.
And he did.
And they got there and said, see, this is my farm. I have given up a life of crime. These are not fairy tales.
They're real.
Yeah.
For his part, the director in charge of rural development, Engineer Akeju Olagbaju, says the ministry has undertaken some definitive actions to improve the lot of the rural farmer.
When the Honourable Minister came in around November last year, the first thing he did was for him to ask us to develop what we call agenda for rural development.
Like a policy framework.
Yes, it's just like a policy framework, but it's also imprinted in the agricultural policy, promotion policy. So for us, we develop a well-broadened framework that will actually improve the rural area in terms of rural road. We plan to construct over 1,700 kilometers of rural road to support agriculture, because one of the basic things that these farmers are actually looking for is to be able to actually evacuate their produce from the farms to the market.
And at a very, very cheap cost.
Yes, exactly, because the cost, it's not necessarily the cost of commodity that is actually very, very expensive, but the cost of moving those commodities from point A to point B, and which we can easily address by creating the rural road to support farmers. And that is exactly what we've been doing. We have an agenda over the next 4 years to actually provide 1,700 kilometers of rural road to support farmers across the country. Also, we also plan to also provide farmers with portable water to improve their sanitation, because health is very, very important to the farmers.
It is. Not going to the stream
exactly
to fetch water.
Exactly.
And they drink from that stream water.
Exactly. So in rural communities, what we try to do is also to actually improve their water source, like creating borehole to actually use as potable water source to improve their sanitation also, which is also very, very important for these rural farmers that have been long forgotten to be able to produce very well on the field. And one significant thing about the rural people is that we seem to consign them as if they don't belong to the part of the society in terms of having access to energy.
You're right. They're so cool.
And we are also working very seriously on a project which we call Light Up Rural Communities, where we want to start with 5,000 communities and provide them with a moderate source of energy so that each member of the household will be able to have access to rural energy, at least about 1 kV of energy to be able to support their need. And you know, if they have access to energy, their livelihood will definitely improve. Naturally. And they will be able to actually operate all this small cottage industry within the rural area, which is very, very important. And you know, it is one of those things that is actually causing the migration of the rural people into the urban city, because most of the basic infrastructures are not there in the rural areas. And that is exactly what we are doing to be able to actually put in some of those infrastructures that you will find in urban city, also in the rural areas, and that will encourage people to stay in the rural area.
On the issue of enlisting the use of machines to bring about improved production under the green alternative.
And it's very, very important that we need to mechanize agriculture. One, for the fact that mechanized agriculture enables farmers to raise its productivity, and the timeliness of operation is ensured. Then we talk about having machines that will do the planting for you, having machinery that will do the weeding for you, having machinery that will do harvesting for you. All these things are embracing what we call mechanization. But the truth is that mechanization is generally referred to as an input into farming, but it is very, very expensive. But we need to mechanize. And the Honourable Minister recognized that it is not also possible for all the farmers to own tractors, because tractors are very, very expensive. It's a capital-intensive project. So what we've been able to do in the ministry is to set up a robust system whereby we have what we call agri-equipment hiring centers located in different parts of the country. Like I said, it's also going in the way of having at least one agri-equipment hiring center in each of the 74 local governments. And what it means is that if you have that center established in a local government, any farmer that wants to mechanize can easily walk into that center and buy the services.
Engineer Badams says the Growth Enhancement Support Scheme, GES, now has the farmer going to appointed centers to access fertilizers privately procured. He later goes back to easily identifiable government outlets to secure the subsidy element of his purchase. The corruption that had been the lot of fertilizer distribution is practically being wiped out.
In the last 5 years, government has pulled out of direct procurement and distribution of fertilizer. And the exit strategy from that is what we now call Growth Enhancement Support Scheme, whereby, well, that's Growth Enhancement Support Scheme, which was the extra strategy to leave procurement and distribution to the private sector. So the GES now is such that, you know, farmers are now registered in our data bank. What we now do is we engage suppliers, as producers and importers of fertilizer, to get this thing to the agro dealers. The agro dealers now supply this fertilizer to our farmers all over the country in their centers. Then, and what we now do, what government now does is
that would have reduced a lot of corruption.
Exactly. So now, what farmers now, government now does is just payment of the subsidy element of the cost of the input. For instance, the subsidy element, that's what government is just doing, providing the conducive environment and paying the subsidy element, which ranges between 25 to 50%. So with GES now, farmer go to that center, take his farm input, the agriculture come back to the government and ask for his subsidy element to be paid to him. It's somebody that's just GS. And before it is done, farmer normally get, SMS telling him that go to this center, you are entitled to so number of bags of fertilizer and other inputs, and it costs so and so. So they go there and they are redeemed, and we pay the subsidy element. That's GS in summary.
The Deputy Director, Animal Production and Husbandry, Engineer John Taiwo, says a better environment increases the production of milk almost tenfold, and mentions the need for revitalizing some grazing centers and other necessary inputs.
UN recommendation, FAO, for average intake of animal protein is about 35 grams per caput. And Nigeria, presently, we are taking less than 15 grams. And so, it is on record that Nigeria is one of the countries with low intake of animal protein, meaning that our children will not grow to their potential, because it is important that they get adequate animal protein in their intake. So the present administration is working on introducing 3 vital animal protein: egg, milk, and meat into the school program. And we have a program presently on. We have an understanding with Toons Farm on NEGPRO, National Egg Production Program, where we have egg production.
Interesting.
Which will go into the school feeding program. So local farmers will be encouraged to produce egg on sustainable basis, which will be taken by state entrepreneurs at state level, and there will be national provider, input suppliers, who will give the resources to the farmers, and they will be in clusters so that they will aggregate them, and it will go into the feed program, school feeding program, as well as go to the Nigerian populace.
So there will be synergy.
Yes. So I mentioned about the dairy development program. It's also along this side. The anchor program is to support the dairy program, which will aggregate the milk, and the investor will get the finances and resources for the farmers. So the farmers will produce, and it will be off-taken by the entrepreneur, so that it will go into the factory and also go to the populace. So these are...
So it's a win-win situation.
Yes, yes. So also for the meat, we're also doing broiler production. We're also going to encourage, like the meat, what we're talking about, there will be off-takers and processors of meat. We are also working on providing cottage processing plants, which will help to off-take the meat production. We have on a pilot scale poultry processing cottage industry, which is being built into some of the producing the live bird markets, which will help on a hygienic basis to process the animal and package them, which will be for locals and invariably for exports.
The place of the windmill, instead of the usual solar-sourced energy, is also a point Taiwo dwells on while talking about his department's tasks. He says the windmill has a lifespan of 50 years. That's a huge advantage over the solar panel. On nutrition, Engineer Taiwo says the gram intake of animal protein is far less than the United Nations recommendation, a shortcoming which interferes with the ability of children to reach their potentials. All that will change soon with the ongoing reinvigorated attention from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development.
Over the years and the intervention, solar panels have been used to power the boreholes that have been, but we have discovered vandalization has been very high. And compared with the use of mechanical windmill powered boreholes, windmills last for about 50 years. And they are less vulnerable to vandalization. And so we are on a pilot scale doing 9 states, 9 grazing reserves, and will be irrigated, and also provision of watering points for the animals, so that it will encourage, if pasture is available on sustainable basis, the tendency of animals moving about will be reduced. Also, 13 northern states have also offered 5,000 hectares for commercial pasture production that will enable entrepreneurs. Pasture production is a lucrative business which had been neglected over the years, and the present government is encouraging farmers and young entrepreneurs to go into pasture production so that it will be available even for export.
The plain name preferring helmsman at the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development has put his boots on and is asking his lieutenants to commission all hands available for the job of turning things around in the ministry. Anyway, the truth is that whatever Audu focuses on gets worked on. And just in case you are beginning to tag all this a theoretical foray, Ogbe is asking our crew to get ready for a field trip to show how much the plow has hit earth, not just to provide food for Nigerians, but to turn the country into an exporter of agro-allied products. As the nation tackles challenges at the crossroads of its agricultural life, the plan and action so far undertaken hopefully point to clarity of vision. It's actually the path of the bulldozer. It takes things down so other things more beneficial can grow. And in all of this, Mr. President is likely to be nodding acquiescence.
I'll give you of one area I understand through my personal association, textiles. The Nigerian textile industry used to employ more than 320,000 Nigerians. That's one industry alone, between Kaduna, Kano, Aba, and Ikeja, I think.
Lagos part of it.
Exactly. Now they are employing, I think, less than 30,000. But what we want is for our entrepreneurs to be able to buy machinery, spare parts, essential raw materials, and get our factories starting again. Those ones, if they made case to central bank, they will be given hard currency concession because it will be identified and quantified. This is the way we are going to work. And then agriculture will increase the cotton growing areas to grow cotton and ginneries and so on.
Well, viewers, this is where we call it a day on your program Towards a Greater Nigeria. We have been looking at the activities, plans, policies of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. In Nigeria, agricultural revolution has started, and we're glad that we have a minister and, of course, a team that are determined to take in the sector to greater height. You and I have a role to play, so let's come knocking on the doors of the ministry here in Abuja or their offices, wherever they are in Nigeria, to asking how can you key into the agricultural agenda of President Muhammadu Buhari's government, because agriculture is the way to tow. Oil and gas, bit of a question mark. You and I know that, but agriculture is that way to tow. Thank you for joining us. We'll be with you next edition next week by God's special grace. God bless you.